Welcome to the second episode of Talk to Warlock. In this episode, me and David have a very interesting discussion about how the social systems are changing, our traditional models giving way to a more complex way of thinking, the global trends of institutionalized religion slowly dying off, the changing models of gender, relationships, and sexuality, political polarization all across the world, and what it may lead to. We get into universal basic income, the education system, new approaches to politics and government. As we talk about the education system, we bring up alternative systems that are around today that have been made already, such as the Montessori system, the Waldorf schools, and others. We end up fleshing out a concept that I've been working on for a long time in relation to a more evolved, futuristic education system and what a course in that system may potentially look like as it focuses on communication and relationships and the impact of that socially. We end up digging deeper into how all this will impact on our health, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and what that means for human performance, and all the possibilities of the current research, exercise programs, fasting science, etc. Let's get right into it. I have an appreciation for what I'm seeing you experience right now when you're not that stressed out, like, oh my God, and like coming back from work and you're just sitting at home and you're just doing things at your own terms, how much more interested you are in what in like your day and like how much better you feel. uh I was thinking like maybe like wouldn't it be more like that if we had universal basic income? Like, do people really think that if you give people the opportunity to do what we're doing with our lives, me and you, to some extent, to do that like better, just with a more less struggle, would more people not do that? I think a lot of people would do that. I think a lot of people are doing that already. But I do think the system has to get better than just oh yeah, I just give people money. Like, I think that's too simple. But I do think that the end result will be like this. Will be like what you're doing right now. People sitting doing stuff.
Hmm. We've talked about that before, where we drew the parallel of the way people look at universal basic income today is much like the way people looked at morality and religion back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not enough to just say that we don't need religion. Everyone could just like destroy it. But you develop something else. You develop these like other ways of relating to the world. You develop policies. You develop laws. You develop codes like, oh, human equality and freedom and right, free right to education and right to pursue happiness and whatever stuff like that.
Hmm.
Right?
I
Like that
think,
that took the place of religion largely.
hmm and what would you attribute that shift in society to when it
I would
comes to
attribute that
religion?
to I would attribute that to people, the average person being educated enough that
That's what I was
the
thinking.
that the really simple version of these stories no longer fills the whole picture. Like the picture frame is now so much bigger than these little pieces can fill by themselves. And so there are gaps, and those gaps become much more obvious when people are educated, and then people need something new. People need something to fill those gaps, as it happens, right?
Yeah, yeah. I see that. I see that a higher higherly edu higher it's not a word. More educated culture, society, people combined with a more connected people, like we're with the internet and
Yeah,
everything we have.
Yeah.
which also brings a certain degree of freedom
Yes.
that wasn't available before in terms of
That might
what
create an even bigger
concepts.
gap. Now that I look at it, like, the gap that happened when people broke away from religion, broke away from these things, and started like just capitalism, and move forward on these systems, like Sweden did, or like America did, or a lot of these countries, and they all significantly gapped out the countries that didn't do that, like a lot of countries that are like my countries, and Africa, and these South America, and these places that are more stuck in their culture, right? Their old school, very old school culture. They're behind. And I think the thing that you're describing, where you have a society of people that are more connected and more free, and have a better connection, and these stuff, like that society is going to be so ahead of the others. But at the same time, that society is going to be the one you want to be ahead, because they're not going to be the guys like the capitalists, to the point when they get
Definitely.
ahead, they're going to dominate the shit out of you, right?
I don't think it's gonna
It
be as radical in that sense.
Yeah, I think it changes.
Just
Like
wider.
back in the day, yes, back in the day, the really dominant people who were the gap had the military technology, and if they were the best, they will kill everyone else. Like they will
uh,
they will crush you with their boots, right? They will crush you physically, and then it became business crushing. Like today, like the military wasn't the number one thing anymore right now. And economically, if people are economically very ahead of you, oh, you're so fucked. Like they're going to
it's always
make your
about that,
make they're
right?
gonna make you, yeah, they're gonna make you their money slave,
Being
basically.
ahead, yeah, being a little bit
Yeah,
more ahead than the rest.
yes,
But it's
but I
interesting.
think,
Oh, sorry.
so I just want to make the final point that I think that the society you're describing, if they were ahead, they would be the most likely society to want to share that and impact that on the rest of the people. Like the people you see with Bill Gates and Ramdas and Joe Rogan, and these people that get more developed. And then their thing is they want to share it with those people because they have the connection. They know how much it helps to have people that feel good, that care about each other, that care about themselves, and want to express their passion and their individuality and actualize their potential. They know that, and so they share it. I think that's the level where it starts becoming less about conflict and more about supporting each other.
Hmm. Yeah, why I asked is because we can look at a thing that we can draw so many parallels to, like the break from religion, and we can
Yeah.
apply the same thinking to universal basic income. Not
Yes.
identical, but
It's just a
shares.
really large shift
Mm-hmm.
in the way society is
Yeah,
structured.
we
Yeah.
can sort of use that as a
Met a meter.
template of mind.
Yes.
Think of
Yes.
it, and then I think it's sort of touches the same things with the wider span of that is more open, and it's not as
Yeah, it's not the
as
priest and the one person at the top
yeah,
tells the rest of the people or gives them their money.
yeah.
It's gonna be more.
It's really
It's
cool.
gonna be more equalized, right? It's
Really,
gonna
really
be more
cool.
like, yeah.
I
It's
like
gonna be
that
like
in
these
concept.
people. Yes, very,
Like
very.
combined with the cryptocurrencies, maybe it would be. It's
Yes,
also an
yes.
interesting
Money is gonna
avenue when it
evolve for
comes
sure.
to decentralized money, where
Yes,
there's
yes.
no
I think that's gonna be
banker.
very. Yes, that's the same thing as the Bible getting translated, right?
Yeah,
It's like decentralizing the spiritual knowledge, or like the decentralizing
the
the power.
rules, the power.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
power, right? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Now you can
The
kind of
system.
figure it out for yourself, and there's no like person sitting there. Oh, if you don't confess on Sunday, then you're gonna then like how could you be a part of us, like GG? Now it's like everyone kind of does their own thing, and I think with money that will one day be the case. Like, oh, everybody, rather than, oh, everyone has to work for this one fucking company, or this, five companies that make everything. All right, now people get to kind of do more of what they want with their time.
Yeah.
I think that sounds really beautiful. if it comes with the other stuff that we're seeing today, with healing methodologies that are developed from people that are very educated on so many levels, like neuroscience and psychology and spiritual and like spiritual literature and
What do you mean?
mythology,
What do you
like
mean?
a Rick Strassman or
Mm.
like that guy,
Mm.
like if you combine, like I think the freedom that people will get will be made good by all these other pieces that are falling into place simultaneously, like the better education system that people want to make, like the cryptocurrency, like the decentralized currency, like the better methodologies for exercise and nutrition that people are working so hard to spread culturally, right? People like Paul Check and so many others trying so hard to express these. Wim Hof, all these stuff will will expand and slowly take over and become the new meta in its own way, right? Hopefully, if together, and that will be a really cool shift, a new chapter of our progress, I guess, or maybe someone else's progress at that point. Maybe it won't be. We won't be humans in the same way at that. Maybe.
Mm. Yeah, I could see the
I
benefits.
mean, would people would if you went back 400, sorry, if you went back 400 years and people told you that people today talk to each other across continents and they know everything and they see the weather before it happens and they can look at a thing and they will tell you information about whatever you want, and they can record themselves and watch it back, like would that be human to you if you lived 400 years ago? That would be a little bit not the same kind of human that you think of as human, right? That would be like a step removed from what you imagine as human. It's like, wait, what's doesn't sound. If I told you that they can fly in like places in a less than a day and transport themselves in a car and like all these, I like, what is, that's not a human anymore to you? Like, what is this thing like at this that
I
point?
don't know. By
I think that
by
is gonna
by
move
by
more towards
imagine
that.
by imagination, yeah. If the person were to think of what's possible, so many, it's more than 1 degree removed from what they think is possible. But if you were to
Yeah.
just take that person and put them in those situations, they'd assimilate
Yes.
quickly, and
Yes.
they'd
Very.
realize that they're not like some other kind of race,
Yes.
super.
Yes.
Just a new,
Yes.
it's just a
It's
new
just an
expectation is
yes. It's a
at a
new
very
expansion.
different point.
Yes. It would apply even more if you took like pre like hunter gatherer, like pre language human beings, right? And
Well,
you told them, you showed
then it
them
becomes a
today.
different thing because if I
Then
think,
it's like totally different.
well, I think thousands and thousands of years of using language and using tools of
Yeah.
communication and
Yes.
interconnection, like a
Culture, making
yeah,
culture
culture,
and
yeah,
stuff.
but it changes the
Physically, yeah,
yes, the
brain and
brain and probably, the
yes,
system of
yes.
how it's
But I
functions.
bet it's
So
happening
that's
already.
different. But like a
Like if you
person
look at the
from the
brains of children today, or like 20-year-olds today, and you go back 400 years and you look at a brain of a person, I bet it's noticeably different.
yeah, but I think
Just
there's
like physically, yes, within a certain,
I think it's within a certain spectrum, where there's the degree of plasticity of the brain that could
yes,
sort of fill out that gap that would be
yes,
between that and now.
yes,
But and yeah, I think the future in terms of have these systems, maybe like in the future idea that we imagine now, with a higher degree of consciousness about your own I don't know what to call it, your own story, your own
yeah,
higher degree of freedom when it comes to your own story, in terms of your psychology and your physiological body. And there's just more available tools for the common individual if you were to integrate a lot of these concepts from like people like Wim Hof, Paul Check, and
Yeah.
that's what's so interesting and cool, and it's kind of stupid in a way that it always loops back into the education, like you say. I don't
Yeah.
think it's necessarily the one way; it's just the way that we're currently thinking about it. If you were to
Yeah.
integrate it into the educational body, where we massively on a global scale infuse, or or in a local, like nationwide scale, were to infuse these ideas, it would create a culture that is like that, yeah, like a certain degree removed ahead compared to now, the way that we
Yeah.
have society built with a
Yes.
less conscious main body, just like just consumerism and producing and all of all of these aspects. Like if you have universal basic income for people that are artistic and people that are of the strain of people that aren't supported as well in today's society, if they're allowed to blossom, and like the contribution that you would see from happy, uh, just happier people, just more. I think so much good comes from that. Uh, Not just the art that they'd produce or the jobs that they'd pursue, which would contribute more, but just the general mindset of a happier individual, sort of infectious in a good way on their social circle, and by them in the social circle removed by them is like a becomes like a genetic tree of just goodwill and positive development throughout,
Yeah.
like a wave moving through the society. Like cool, it's cool to think of it in that way, in the sense that if you were to do this one day, like one school, like the Sadhguru school, does that already in a sense. But yeah, I think your idea is even cooler. What you're gonna develop in the future, that's gonna
Yeah.
create that initial spark in one point of one nation or wherever you do it in your organization. It's gonna
Yeah.
seat itself, and it's gonna be clear from the environment around it that that's something that we should nourish, and we should support that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I think a lot of the school systems that people try to develop become almost alternatives, or like, yeah, like alternatives or like replacements over the current one, like the Sadhguru school, like the Krishnamurti school, like the Rudolf Steiner ones and the Montessori ones. There's so many of these little, like not super well known, but not extremely uncommon either. Like most countries have them. Have you heard of a Montessori school? Is that something you've ever heard?
Yeah,
Is that a
yeah,
word?
we have.
Yeah.
I think we have one here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like not that uncommon. Like people develop. There are alternative systems, but the thing is, like, they're not this holistic upgrade. They're not like you took the system that is today and you made a way better one. It's like you just made. It's like you took the system today and you modified it to focus on different things, which is great. Which is great. Like it's on some level, that's great. Like you should focus more on physical. You should focus more on connecting with your body and the things around you and whatever stuff, or whatever, like depending on what it is you want to focus on. But yeah, I want. I don't even want to make something really good and put it on the side. I guess if that's all I could do, then I would do that. But my thing is, I really want to work with the body of the system that exists today, because it's so connected. There's already a web put in place that is all over the world connected. Schools in Africa follow it, schools here follow it, and schools in Europe follow it, and schools in Russia follow it. And so to some differences, but largely, I think that that will make a huge impact.
Have to.
The average parent should just have their kids in that system without trying that hard.
What
Like
system?
the new system, like it shouldn't be this thing on the side
What is
that
the new
like
system?
a
You just say
system that
like
is more
you
holistic.
did you just mentioned like Krishnamurti school. I don't think I really even have a great idea of what Krishnamurti school teaches. Right, I know who Krishnamurti was, and I know what sort of concepts that he liked to talk about,
Yeah.
and his rhetoric, and how he
Yes.
guides people to think differently, I guess. But I don't know what a school does, and I don't know what really Sadhguru's school, the school organization that he's associated with, what they
I think the greatest
what they do.
example or like the greatest test of that would be to go there and really see those kids, right? Because you could talk about it, you could talk about this theory of it till you're blue in the face, but if you go there and the kids are they're happy and they're developed and they're smart,
But what do they do?
that's very significant. I don't know. I'm not super aware of all of it. I know certain things, but my point that I want to make is that the new system is a system that is more holistic and more human. Like that's my focus very much so is to make the system more human and more holistic. It integrates things like relationships. It integrates things like understanding other people. It integrates things like communication. It integrates things like understanding your body and how to eat, how to move, how to sit, how to sleep.
I have two things of that, because
Yeah,
currently the system that I was educated in
yeah,
took the aspect of the social human teaching of guiding young people. They
yeah,
included in picking teachers that are have a good rhetoric ability and could be in some cases, usually I think, or me, for me at least I had one teacher out of 10 that was a bit of a role model, like a cool teacher,
yeah, yeah,
his or her job, and I enjoyed the class. They were a compass and sort of uh, something to wanting to be like, and that's sort of this vague, not direct teaching of how to be, just the teaching by being. They do, that's sort of how the system does that now. It's that they do have classes in high school for people that go the social route with social worker route, people that do nursing and stuff like that. They get that included in their education. It's just not part of the base package in like middle school and lower, except there it is again part of teaching by being, like you're like like Alina type of, my girlfriend type of person, where she's a cool person, and that inevitably seeps into her students. Uh, and the other aspect of it is that lack of resources and lack of time for the current system. You can't just attach that module to the current system
yeah,
because there's
yeah,
not
yeah.
enough resources,
Yes,
not enough time. So
yes,
you would need to make place for that. That would need an
yes,
evaluation of what are the jobs and
yes,
occupations that we can
yes.
do
Exactly.
less with, so we can
Yes.
make space for a fuller foundation in our society by including these more holistic perspectives.
All right.
That's a
Yeah.
part of your idea that's really important and needs to be
Very.
masterfully crafted.
Yes. Yes. There a lot of it has to be like that. Those are the areas that I definitely don't neglect one bit. The how the parents feel about their kids going to these schools and how the government feels about this new system and how the money is going to work and where the teachers are going to come from and how the training is going to be done and how the kids will be shifted from that system into this new one and what the impact is going to be economically and all these questions are really important which is probably the reason why people haven't tried to do something like that or have tried and haven't done it super well, but I think it's very doable. Very doable. I think it's doable. Like I don't know. I think it's doable.
Yeah.
Doable.
Yeah, man. I think it's doable too. I think it's one of the coolest things. Wait. Yeah, I think it's not only I think it's doable, and I think it's one of the coolest things that I've come across. Your idea of this
Yeah.
system, because
Yeah, man.
I've gotten the honor to have the most fleshed out version of it because we've talked about it so much, or maybe
Yeah.
you've talked to someone else more about it than to me. But I've gotten a really
Myself.
yeah,
Only.
yourself, yeah. But I have a pretty detail rich version of it from the hundreds and hundreds of hours talks
Yeah.
we've had about it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's beautiful.
You should know it well enough that if I die, you could do it yourself. No,
No, no,
I mean,
I
it'd have to
wouldn't
be
be
there.
able to.
You just carry it. Carry the game, David.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave with my grandpa. You you carry. No, man. Just the idea of like I think just if you just like if I could just add one course to the current model, it would make such a giant difference. Like teaching relationships and communication and understanding each other. I think if you just add one course that is really focused on that,
What would it be called?
the it would be called like like communication, or it would be called like relationships or relating to other human beings. Or, I don't know. There's
Communication
probably a
and
way.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Where would you teach it and what age? What's your
I think
ground intuition?
around the place where kids are able to form thoughts and relate to each other a little bit, but not like hard in it. So maybe around like somewhere between 8 and 12, like is a good place to start. I don't know what kids today are like because generationally it's different. Like what I my idea of 8 year olds when I was eight is different than the current 8 year olds because they have iPads and they have like they're YouTubers that are 8 years old.
Yeah.
Like, so it's probably different. So I have to relate to that and see. I think I would have to trial it first, right? Like get a group of 8 year olds to try this. Get a group of 10 year olds to try this. See what that does. I would want research. I would want scientists to do a study on. I mean, it's gonna
Really
be
cool.
very expensive and a lot of time, but I think it's very doable. You could see the direction of the results before the final study is done, right? Like if you start doing that and it goes really well, you don't have to wait, or I personally don't have to wait for the whole study, which takes years to like fully be out and published and reviewed. I already get like the results will be obvious. It will not take that long to see the difference that it does. It only takes long to figure out the exact numbers and to quantify it and to get reviews and write it all down and document it and do it with enough people. Right? These are the academic standards that we have today. But I think you'll have. I think it would be really obvious. Like if you get my idea has always like been that you take these kids and one day you make them argue one side of something, and the next time in a week or two they argue the other side of it. Like that idea, I really want to try it. I really would want to see. I would really want to see that in practice. Because my dream, like my vision, is that would like get people that would develop with that would be people that don't sit there and like, oh, these people are different than me. Fuck them. Like or like I'm scared or fuck like anything. Like they would not react super negatively to somebody who's different than them. They would sit there and they'd be like, oh, that person has a different perspective than me. It's so interesting. I wonder what it is about their perspective that has value, that is meaningful. Like what makes their perspective interesting, and then they would look at that. They would try to integrate it, try to expand their perspective rather than choose. Oh, it's this one or this one. Like no, it's like what it's like mixed martial arts. You don't just like, oh, it's either kung fu or BJJ. Like no, like you look. Okay, what is the aspects of kung fu that are really meaningful? What are the aspects of BJJ that are really meaningful? And then you put them together. And you make a thing that's really good. That's my dream of doing that in education, not just martial arts.
Really beautiful. I could see conflict, uh, friction occurring between the children that are being educated in that manner and parents who weren't. And parents who, in a way,
Yeah, yeah,
haven't even gotten to that level uh, in their 40 years of their life
yeah.
that their 13-year-old now has.
Yes.
Uh, just like when with religion and the way that people
It's
probably were
evolution, right?
educated. Yeah, we're taught
Yeah.
schools of thought that they weren't taught, that they don't have the structures in the same way. They've
Yes.
they've gone down this path construct for
Yeah.
decades and decades and decades, and these young people who are
They're
more,
victims of the old
yeah,
meta.
yeah, exactly, like being,
Not victims. They're just the old
yeah,
meta. Like
yeah,
they're just the old meta. That's all. They've ruled. Like
software
in their time,
version.
it was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Software version 7.0 the menace.
7.0. Absolutely. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, yeah. I knew you wanted to say that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah, man. I really
That's
think.
beautiful. I think
Yeah, man.
that's a really cool starting point, at least. So,
Yes, yes. Like that's one of the things that is really concrete. I can see it. I think the teachers of that subject are also going to be very important. If
mm,
they're biased towards one
yo,
side, or if they're like, yeah, you guys are just doing this as a stupid exercise, and they're not helping the kids actually integrate it and like process what is
yeah,
happening,
you
then it
don't
would
want
be very bad.
you don't want a teacher teaching religion in middle school or high school to be a militant atheist. Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. You're like, oh yeah, it's fucking stupid shit.
yeah,
Look at this stupid fucking story. Yeah, there's
because
God
that's
sitting in
just
the
as
sky.
harmful.
Look what I did.
That's just as
Yes.
harmful because that's gonna be that's bit counter meta and interesting and intriguing and probably fucking cool to a high school student where your teacher is expressing this really radical thought at the time or whatever. You know, you're
Yeah, man.
living in a society that is where Christianity or whatever, Hinduism or Islam or is the thing, or Judaism is the thing. Where
Yeah.
you have this teacher who is direct counter. Like even though that is a different point of thought that's valuable to that school, would be even cooler if the teacher is, like you say, like really well rounded,
Yeah. Because then because then the other people would benefit too, like the parents
not as
who see
spiky.
their kids. Yeah, the parents who interact with the 18-year-old version of that child will get such a positive experience because I hope my dream, like the greatest success of this course would be if the kid understands his parents' perspective. You see what I mean? Like they understand. Like they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, my parents are not from this meta. They feel like this meta is crazy to them." And so my best place to approach them is by helping them understand these different perspectives and somehow walking them through like a mini version of the process and explaining it to them, you know, like if a kid could do that, like when they come home their parents are like, your fucking school teaching you about Judaism and like like how could Muslims study that, and the kid sits there and they're like, look, I understand that you think this way, but like the truth is it's not that clear. There are just multiple ways of looking at things, and there are better, there are some of them are good in all these things, and like the kid would, if the kid is able to understand that his parents perspective and help them, like to me that would be like what a powerful, like that is like the, like I would give honors to students that graduate that course with that ability.
Oh yeah, dude. That's so cool. So much more inclusive way of thought as well. Like,
Yeah,
um, that's a cool idea too.
yeah, yeah, man. That person
That
wouldn't.
would
That
seep up.
person
That would
would.
seep upwards as well. In some
Yeah, exactly.
cases, it would
Yes.
improve humanity upwards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. Like
And
backwards. Yeah, that
yeah,
timeline. Yeah,
and
yeah,
and that also removes. Wait, one sec. That also removes the responsibility of, and the way that I just described with the way that we teach that today is just by having, by luck, you have a cool teacher. But that would make it so that responsibility is systematically replaced from being fully in the parent's hand to create a child that has that perspective, and gives that part of that responsibility to the school, the system, educate and infuse that train of thought in the younger generation, so that
yeah,
it's not just all eggs in one basket sort of a deal, unless you're really lucky and you have a super cool teacher, several,
yeah,
or super cool
yeah, man.
parents, or several, like, you know.
Yes, yes. I see kids that grow out of this becoming, rather than either like these counter meta rebels or like these meta babies. I see people that get out of the system with a more Paul check type perspective, that could go to medicine school or study something, and they would be able to integrate, wow, this research and like what you're doing right now in your school. You're looking at it and you're like, wow, this stuff is so cool. I'm integrating it with all these other ideas, and look at these other ideas. These other ideas are really outdated. I could see how I could see past them. And but these other ones are really cool. And then you put it together and it means something to you. Rather than
Yeah.
you go to school and you're like, oh yeah, this is just what it is. You become some fucking like, like the copy paste of the school, basically. Or the other way around, where you go and you're like, oh, this is all garbage. I'm gonna go like completely counter to this and go do something else. It's like no, like if you had a lot of people who were able to do both of those and study the way that you're studying or Paul Check studies, that to me would be so advanced. It would really advance us in so many, on all these areas. Medicine is a really clear one to me because it's super obvious, like how nutrition and movement are super important. Like how could anything not be related to that? like like that's how it works. Is what you eat. Everyone eats. Everyone moves. Like those things matter.
Yeah, man. I also see those people being more genuinely interested in
Yeah.
in these things.
Yes, because when you become a meta, when you're forced into that position of
Yeah,
either
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're a total meta or you're completely counter, which is gonna be like very risky.
Yeah,
Only
yeah.
certain kinds of people are gonna walk that. Like it's so hard to be like kind of, when you're open, people feel better, right? So when you have that little bit of freedom, people people don't feel very good in that super strict religious old school thing where everyone has to like be super watched, and like, you can't do anything outside the meta. Like people don't feel super good in that. People feel better when it's a little bit more open.
Yeah, that's it's also a cool aspect. Like, it's like really the effect of it is holistic.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
uh
It
very
just makes
cool.
us better at being human with each other. Like that's my
Yeah.
point, because I don't think we're very good at relationships and communication. Like this stuff, it's almost like society works against it. Like people teach you to stand your ground. People teach you to not accept what the other person is saying, to prove your point, to dominate, and to shut down the other side. Like
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
more meta than the other
Just
way
look at
around.
any debate or any discussion or any
Yeah,
like very never is it genuinely interested in the other point perspective.
yeah. Like
Never.
only at the very top where you have people that are like the fucking one in a billion, like fucking Joe Rogan, like what the one Joe Rogan, like could do that somewhat well with a lot of guests. Like what a and he, no coincidence, becomes the one of the biggest shows that have ever been made ever.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
so many people watch that. So many, so
Yeah.
holistic. It's so
Speaks to
holistic, right?
so many. Yeah, it speaks to
Yes, it's so
everyone.
holistic.
Or not
Yes,
everyone, but
exactly.
it speaks.
I think everyone can get something out of it.
Yeah.
That's the point, right? When you have it one way, that it's that just Chinese system or just Jewish system, it's very difficult for other people to get something out of it
The
when they
entire
try to go
it's
in.
so cool. It's also it creates more decentralized people because it's just
Yeah,
it works on so many levels. I think it's so cool. Your
yeah,
idea of
exactly.
it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
I think it's so well fleshed out. It's like it really shows. Spent spent so much time and energy fusing into these concepts. So well
yeah,
fleshed
man.
out already, and at this level, like it shows how much you care about it.
Yes,
Just like
yes.
you
I can't
care.
imagine.
It's like
Yeah,
it's like the it's similar in a baby like in a baby version way. It's sort of how you think about this podcast.
yeah,
You know? Like you really
yeah,
care
man.
about it. Like this is pales in comparison to the monstrous amount that I feel from the education idea and that work, but it's the
Yeah.
same sort of respect for it. Uh,
My friend was saying how just now, like while we were talking, I was talking to this guy, and he was saying how I haven't talked to him a lot recently, like the last year or two, but I used to talk to him a lot more before, and he said that he feels like I've evolved more since he's met me than he can understand. Like, like I've evolved so much that he doesn't understand how much he can't put together how much I've evolved. And I told, and then in my head I was like, in my if this was like my own school, like if I was going to my own school, I'm not even close to graduating. I need like another 10 years before I graduate my own school.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to physically like so level up. I really want to be in very good shape. That's one of my really concrete goals. I want to be at like really good shape, like athlete level shape, like a
Paul
pro
check,
athlete.
Paul check shape.
Yeah, yeah. Not Paul Check is like super next level. Fucking carrying fucking 160-pound dumbbell, cleaning it with one hand. Like, no, I don't wanna. I don't wanna do that. That's like holding myself, my whole body weight, pushing it with one hand up. Like, no, I don't wanna level up like that. But I want a mix of that and like really functional, really flexible. I want to optimize my tension in my body so that because that I've always been so aware of how much that affects how I feel and how much it affects my performance. Like the days when I'm really open physically and I'm really focused and clear, the difference it makes is so insane to me. And I feel it when my body's tense and I've been sitting too much and I haven't been moving a lot, it feels so shit. Like I want my body to be flows like a gymnast, and I want to have the or like a yogi, and I want to have the power and the speed and like the and I want it to be really holistic. I don't want to ignore parts of my body. Like I don't want to ignore the adductors. I don't want to ignore my facial muscles. I don't want to ignore weird little things in the around my neck and my jaw. I don't want to ignore my scalp. I don't
Just
want to
imagining
ignore
you
my voice.
attaching clamps to your eyebrows and doing like fucking eyebrow raises.
It's more gonna be probably around massage and
Never skip face day, bro.
yeah, that I could. there's women that do facial exercises and stuff like that, which I've tried a little bit.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I'm just joking. I know what you mean. I
yeah, yeah.
feel the same way. As I come from my background with the, I guess my,
Massage.
yeah,
Yeah,
I get all,
your massage shows you that so well, right? Like when
yeah,
you get a really good massage and you come out and you feel just how tense you
and
were
just
and when the difference it makes, like wow, like that is life changing. It's
yeah,
really literally life changing.
and just the respect that my school had with and teaching us anatomy before we do that. We really look at the human body and how the muscles
Yes,
are, where they begin and where they end, and where
yes,
this, with all of the different layers
yes,
of them, and then going into the massage education and like literally manipulating muscles and other people,
yeah,
and then adding on top of that the physical education of training, like the PT
yeah,
training, and how to
yes,
move and why and what
yes, and
leverages
then
and
the
how what it means,
nutrition.
and then add the
Yeah,
nutrition, and then also
yeah.
added the social and the
And the pranayama
motivational,
and the
yeah,
cold
yeah,
showers and the
yeah,
meditation
yeah.
and all of it, right? The sauna, like all those pieces
Yo,
and the
if what if my
isolation tank,
school
which
did
you've
that?
never
What
done.
if my school did that? Like they added
What
the
if
Wim
every school
Hof
did
and
that?
everything.
What if there was what if every school had a basement with like 10 tanks that
Yeah.
people rotated like twice a week, every
What a
person,
fucking
and
hygienic mess.
and like a garden.
Yeah.
No, they cleaned it, like they took care of it themselves because they
Yeah,
fucking
imagine
cared.
fucking filthy teenagers, dude. Just fucking coming in those
Imagine
tanks.
the sex that people would have in the tank.
Fucking,
Like,
yeah.
dude, I fucked her in the tank, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
No,
like
but what I was
a
gonna
school would
say.
have a garden. People grow some food and like take care of some bees or something, and they like participate in the kitchen. Like the like to me when I look at students coming out of most schools, when I see their body language, when I see their gait when they're walking, and their muscular like development, Paul Check would not call those people super developed. And the average person. And I imagine an education system where the average person comes out much closer to like a Paul Check healthy
Yeah, yeah,
version. Like
yeah.
that makes such a huge
I,
difference in society, man. Like
yeah, I was just
the drugs, the healthcare system that people don't need as much anymore, right? Like the Sadhguru, there was this
before
Indian
I forget
person
it.
that was talking. Yes,
I just
please.
wanted to say that with my background of that and Elliot Hulse, listening to him
Yes.
was who's a student of Paul Check,
Yeah.
and having that as my foundation, I think I'm more holistically by standard than a lot of the lifters of today that go to the gym,
Yeah. Yes.
and I can see even with the level of insight that I had with my education plus their perspective, I still hurt myself and I was still overdeveloped in certain areas of my body that is caused by, with the culture of
Yeah.
wanting to look a certain way.
Yes.
But this thing that you're talking about being more all inclusive of body movement and function is something that I'm also seeing now, that I'm now when I'm restarting my training regime, I'm much more interested in full dynamic movement, and having a
Yeah.
really healthy, well functioning machine of a
Yes.
muscular and structured,
Oiled,
yeah,
like a cat. Like a
yeah,
cat, man.
yeah,
Like a fucking like it moves fast and so strong and flexible. Like it feels good. I never wanted it because I thought it was like this, gonna be a cool trophy. I always wanted it because it feels so good. It
yeah.
feels like getting a great massage, but
So
like every day,
yeah,
right?
sorry,
Like your body becomes that.
I just wanted to mention that you said Sadhguru or something.
I was gonna talk about there was this Indian girl talking to Sadhguru, and she was, I think it was a medical university. It was a student, one of his youth in Truthful, and she was telling him like, what do you think about the problem that there's not enough doctors in India? Because right now there's like, I think she said one doctor per thousand. No, there was right now there's one doctor per 2,000 people, and they would need one doctor per thousand people. And he looked at her and he said, I don't like that. And I didn't get what he was saying at first. He's like, I don't like that. He's like, and then he's like, we should make a society that is healthy enough that most people don't need a doctor. That you could get away with one doctor per 5,000 people, and things would be fine because most people don't need to go to a doctor every
Yeah.
2 months. Like that is the product of a system that has that education in it, right? People wouldn't You would need less doctors that are like everywhere, like, you know less therapists. How many therapists are there today? Like it's so crazy how many of those we need. And it's super weird because the universities don't even want to train those people because
Well,
they're scared of losing their money. Like that's one of the weirdest things to me is that the medical universities are super scared of letting more people in, even though there's enough people with the right grades and there's enough teachers and there's enough demand for doctors. But if they commercialize it more, if they bring more people, then the doctors make less money because then it's not as exclusive and it becomes more of a normal, like, available thing, more competition, and they don't want to do that. But like, yeah, I don't know. To me, that's really weird.
it's really
It's just
weird.
a product of the system we have. It's not that weird.
Um, although it's it's interesting with this history of psychology and
1 sec,
psychologists.
grandpa calling. 1 sec. Hello. Hello, Jaduti, Shanek. طلع اليوم المي ماكو. اه اكلت لعب، اكلت من امير. هي عوافي جدود طيبه كانت. هاي حرامات. اه مع الاسف. اوكي جدود. اوكي تعال بالستة جدود. اوكي جدود. اي جدود. اوكي باي. Sorry, bro. You were saying
No,
something.
no, no, no worries, man.
It feels a little demanding to speak so much when I'm fasting because I feel like I want to drink water. It makes me thirsty,
Yeah,
but I
you're
can't drink
fasting.
water.
That's right.
Yeah,
Are you doing
yeah,
the pre-fast now, or is this the fast
yeah.
fast?
No, I'm gonna do it 1 to 2 months of pre-fast. I really want to, like, go really. I want 7 days felt super hard. Like 5 days, 4 or 5 days felt really hard to me, and I've seen people do a lot more. So I really want to do it right. I want to try. I've never done a pre-fast that was as deep as this, but I really want to try and see how it feels to do it. To really prepare my body for it, like I'm doing almost like a pre-fight boot camp, like for 1 to 2 months. Like I want to do mixtures of like keto, Muslim fasts, and like just generally like fasting and stuff like that. Really healthy. The 2 weeks, the two at least two weeks leading up to the actual 7 day fast, I'm gonna go keto, like full keto, and get my system adapted to that, and eat super super healthy, very very high nutrition, so that my body, when I go fast, has the stores, and it can work with it. It can, like, now it has like a toolkit that it can use to repair. Man, the last time I fasted, it was really strange. There were parts of my lungs that I felt were fucked up. It was like I almost felt like there was air flowing out of my lung, like there was a hole in my lung, and the air was seeping out of it into my rib cage. It felt super weird. It felt very wrong. Like, you feel something and you're like, this is not supposed to feel like this. That's how I was feeling. I felt very wrong. And when I fasted, I my body was really intensely working on that to the point where I coughed up a little bit of blood, and that, to me, intuitively felt like it was happening because my body almost like was opening up these scarred, like wounded shit, and was like like working to regenerate it, and that's exactly what it felt like happened after like a few days. It felt like this. It's like renovating a house. Have you ever seen a roof and it get? I guess you live in the West, so you've seen roofing, right? Like you've seen people's roofs get old and crumbly and fucked up, and then they get a new one, and it looks nice and no water and
Yeah,
no whatever, right? That's what I felt. I experienced in my lungs, in my body. That was my experience physically. Like that's how I felt. It was really really nice, but it was so hard. And so as soon as I finished it, I remember wanting to do another one next month, but I didn't do it. So now I want to do this one, and I want to do it really deeply.
I wanna do it with you after my work's over. I wanna do something similar and just take
When is your work gonna
advice
be
here.
over?
It's gonna be over in about 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly around the time that my school is going to be over, and I'm going to be going into something like that as well. You could do like the 2 week build up, or like the 2 3 week build up I have before with keto and a little bit of fasting, and
Hmm.
then do your own fast after that.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be really cool. You could do like a 3 day one as your first time, really, or like a 4 day one. That would be really, and just see how your body changes, because it really, you really feel it. It's like you really feel it. It's like works, like it does work, like it's not, it's like acid. It's like wow, like think like shit happens. It's not the kind of thing that you do it and you're like, oh yeah, something happened, like you do, 1 day of workout or something. Like no, like it's this is really deep level stuff.
Very cool. And also, it will be re. I will be. I'll be picking up the routine I have with my workout and stuff as well.
I think it will be really interesting for you to feel out what working out fasted will be like to you. I've been studying this I was reading this recent research by that Loranda Patrick linked to about intermittent fasting and time restricted eating and stuff like this. Um, and it was showing that women who were exercising, who were like uh, healthier, when they did intermittent fasting, they didn't lose muscle. They actually gained. Their bodies were more anabolic, and they lost fat. So they gained muscle and lost fat. Eating the way that they normally would, but in a time restricted fashion.
It's really interesting.
Yes, but it makes some sense because it's like if
Large
you're
windows.
yeah, if you're pushing the direction of the insulin sugar spike like cycle up down all the time, and you're going towards diabetes and going fat, then it's very clear that your body prioritizes not building muscle and other things to become the consequences of that lifestyle versus this.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's cool.
it's really
Fasting.
interesting
Fasting's
because like
interesting.
yeah, it's really cool because like also like
Hmm?
it's something that most people aren't that aware of. Like most human beings are not that aware that they're eating within a 16-hour window. That they wake up in the morning and they eat at 8, and then they eat right before they go to bed at 12, and they're snacking in between, and they're drinking coffee and everything, and they're not that aware of it. But then they're not super healthy weight. Then their focus isn't that there. Their energy is messed up, and but they don't attribute that to that. Like they want to focus on this bigger thing, like oh, change all the diet or change the exercise entirely. And these pieces, like oh, what is your eating time window like, and how is that connecting to your circadian rhythm and stuff like this. Like those aren't things that we're that aware of as a society at the moment. But I think it has way more effect than we realize.
For sure, man. Man,
I can't wait for people to really nail these, like really get somewhere with the research on here. Because right now we're in this weird phase where there's all these new topics that are being researched, but there's so little conclusions, right? Like nutrition, like there's so little conclusions. There's so much studies. And there's so little like, yeah. Here is exactly what happens or why things are like this. It's very diverse. I can't wait for them to get to a place where it's more clear what what it is. I think that will be really fun.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too.
If you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Talk to Warlock. It was a very fun episode to record for both me and David. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to stay updated, we are Talk to Warlock on all socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And now I leave you with David's latest masterpiece in progress that I am very in love with and really feel like it expresses a Viking part of him that has yet to fully see the light. Hopefully you'll see what I mean by that and enjoy it. Disfigured thought, whether right or not, please let it linger.